For the better part of the last 10 years, I found myself traveling almost once a month, and I have gotten my travel routine down to a fine art. But there are a few things that I find always help me feel the most comfortable, feel the most rested, just feel the most put together no matter where I am. So today I've rounded up all of those items and I'm going to share them with you. Number one is a sheet mask, a hydrating sheet mask. Now, I go through a few of these depending on where I'm at, the brands that are available to me. I have a few favorites, but the one thing that I always find is my skin always has a little bit of an adjustment period when I go to a new climate, particularly because I live in a place that's really humid. But I also find that there's a lot of things that can be solved just by having the extra bit of hydration, whether or not you're flying, maybe you're a little bit more active and not sleeping as much. I always pack one of these, and this is a part of my morning routine. So I will add a little bit of meditation in there. I've done a lot of weddings where I've just been really busy. I've maybe had one or two more drinks than I normally would. I'm eating more salt. My diet is not quite as on point and I just need to look a bit more refreshed. I will add this and one of the other items that I'm about to mention into my skincare routine. Take a minute to just sit, to just chill, to just meditate, to like shut my eyes for maybe 20 more minutes than I probably would have, and it makes such a world of difference. So now to go with my sheet mask, I will also use these little refreezable gels or my ice roller. My ice roller is currently in the freezer because every time I travel, it has to go in a plastic bag and it needs to defrost. But if I'm in a hotel, I will either use these or the ice roller. If I'm in a hotel, the ice roller is really great because I'll just get a bucket of ice in the morning and pop it in. And I find that the thing that helps me feel the most awake and prevents me from needing an extra abundance of coffee when I travel is just having that like chilledness on my eyes. It makes my eyes feel more rested. It helps to kind of wake them up, depuff them, all of those vibes. These are great if you just want to kind of relax and chill. Like I will pair these together. This is a bit more of a budget friendly item, but if you're really needing like a smaller bit of luggage, I believe these are like a Sephora gift, but I will link some down below, and they can just go in any kind of like fridge, freezer in your hotel, or if you've got like an ice bucket, it's great. And I just pop them in and then pop them on my eyes, and it does such a world of wonders with 10 minutes. Like you just need a little bit of time, and it really just, it helps relax you. So if you've got like extra anxiety when you're traveling, the cold is going to help with that, but it also really just helps to depuff and make you feel and look more awake. Now, something I've learned the hard way with travel is really just to make sure that my probiotic and my vitamin game is on point. And I'm going to do a whole video about all of the supplements that I take for my anxiety and depression and just my most holistic lifestyle. But these are the two that if I'm going somewhere and I'm going for a really long amount of time, I mean, I'm going for longer than like what my little pre-packs are going to do, I will not travel without these, plus maybe magnesium. The original essential for women, I believe this is the multivitamin 18+. And then I recently started taking their symbiotic, which is a prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic. I also really love seeds. Both Ritual and Seed make a great symbiotic. But this combo right here makes sure that I'm getting my essential like balance of things. I'm getting my vitamin A, I'm getting my vitamin B, I'm getting my iron to make sure that my energy levels are staying up, and this just really helps with my digestion. If I'm traveling, I'm probably going to be eating out a bit more than I normally would. We will talk about snacks in a second, but this just helps to make sure that my gut is on point and able to kind of navigate anything that it normally might not be exposed to, simply because I'm not dealing with my like everyday comforts at home of what I would eat. So I find that taking these, if I'm feeling like extra exposed, I will add an elderberry gummy into the mix. If I'm doing a lot of plane travel or a lot of back-to-back travel, I will typically add like an elderberry or a vitamin C powder, whatever is available for me, whatever I feel like is appropriate at the time. But these are always kind of in the rotation. Now, something I've learned the hard way with a lot of car travel is that I always, no matter what, get the really tight like shoulder knots. Just everything up top really locks up, gets really tight. I try my best to stretch and to keep a good consistent workout routine, but there are some things that just, they need release, they need help. When I'm at home, I use a heating pad pretty consistently to help combat that. That's where I naturally carry my stress, but when I'm traveling, I always have one of two things. This is a lacrosse ball, as recommended to me by my physical therapist, and this is great if you've got like a smaller travel. I like this for like small spots, or I kind of always keep this in my bag on the off chance that I don't remember or can't pack my Theragun, depending on what's happening. I have the Theragun Mini, and I find that this is just incredible for really helping to release everything up top, anything with lower body, with glutes. I use this at home, especially if I start a workout and I feel like there's something that's really just kind of knotted going on. I always reach for this, but I feel like sometimes this puts a little bit too much pressure on certain points, so it's helpful to have as like a backup, or just I always have a kind of option to release anything, but sometimes it's a little bit too pointed versus this where I can really kind of smooth out an area, and I really love it. I feel like I just noticed such a huge difference when my shoulders are relaxed, because otherwise if I'm doing several days of travel in a row, like I did 5 days of travel this past weekend, and a lot of it was in the car because we were seeing Christmas lights, I was going all over the place, I was going to a bunch of different cities, and that like pressure in my shoulders just compounds because I don't always have time for a massage while I'm gone or when I get back, and this helps to kind of alleviate that, just makes it a little bit easier, and is the most compact versus like needing to pack a heating pad and needing to pack a lot of other things. This fits in my bag and makes it just a lot more comfortable, easier for me to relax, and just to not feel like so bunched up and in pain while I'm trying to be active and have fun and do all the things with my friends. Now, if you're new to my channel, I am a big journaler. I pretty much always have some kind of journal with me wherever I go, but I have transitioned over to using my iPad Pro in the last year and a half. Every now and again, I'll reach for a paper journal. I really like that with this, I can use my keyboard, and if I'm wanting to do stream of consciousness, or maybe I'm wanting to visualize and kind of write as I go, I have the ability to type it out. But this also kind of takes the place of a few things for me. It prevents me from needing to have multiple books with me. It prevents me from needing to have a Kindle. This is great if I don't want to have to pack my laptop. 9 times out of 10, I'm still going to pack my laptop, because if I'm editing a video or if I need to do other work things, there's a lot that just goes a lot smoother on an actual laptop. But if I'm going away for a short amount of time, or if I'm on an airplane and the tray tables are really small, and again, journaling, this is fantastic for me. So I absolutely love this. This was a bit of an investment. It was a gift to myself last year, but it's something that I use every single day. I have the option to write if I'm in the mood to write. A lot of times I will type out my journaling just because my typing is as fast as my thoughts are to some degree, so I can get it out a little bit quicker. But if I really need to slow down, I also have the ability to write. I use Good Notes for that, but this kind of serves all the things for me. Sometimes I will actually use my planner in this too, if that's the mood that I'm in. I kind of go back and forth for all of those things. In general, this tends to be the thing that like, it just makes traveling so much easier for me. If I want to use stuff in bed, if I'm wanting to also have 2 screens, maybe I still want to be working and watching a YouTube video, if I kind of want to keep my normal flow, I love having this option. Plus it helps me not be on my phone in bed, which is essential. Now, even though I do pack the iPad, I typically always have at least one hardback book with me. There's a few reasons for this. Sometimes things die and you need them to charge. That's always an experience. The other thing is I really try to be as present as I can be with those that are around me. So if I'm sitting in a room with my friends, I'm sitting in a room with my family, and I'm hanging out with all of them, maybe we're watching a movie and I'm like not totally into it, I don't necessarily want to be on my phone. Even if it's me reading a book on my phone, it's really easy for me to hop around and get in the habit of constantly grabbing my phone or just consistently scrolling. So I like that if I have some kind of book with me, it just shows the kind of presence that I am and like where I'm at. And it also just helps me to disconnect even more, because I am really, I'm in a hardback book, like this is the only thing I can be doing other than like watching the TV or interacting with those around me. I'm still as present as possible. The ability to be present in the space I'm in while also being able to capture it, and just being able to be fully present in my life has definitely been a big part of my journey over the last year. I think it's something all content creators go through, but I feel like having a hardback book just gives me the ability to kind of manage both, and it helps me not stay in a habit of constantly reaching for and being on my phone. Like when I'm on my phone or when I'm interacting with technology, especially if I'm out with loved ones, it's because I'm trying to do so intentionally and not necessarily doing it out of a way to like avoid emotions or fill the gap or just not be present in whatever's happening. Now, I very much learned the hard way over the years that I cannot sleep comfortably if my feet are cold. So there's pretty much always 2 pairs of socks in my bags. Depending on where I'm going, what I'm doing, I will reach for a different pair. But fuzzy socks save me every single time, where maybe I don't necessarily need a blanket, or even if I've got a lot of layers on the top, if I reach a point where I'm like trying to fall asleep and my feet are cold and you want to unwind, you want to relax. If my feet are not comfortable, I am not going to sleep. So these are always in my bag. They're great for long days. If I need to like pop on some lotion and just let my feet soften, let my feet relax, I will put these on top of them. But it's also just, I'm notorious for having cold feet and being cold simply because my feet are not warm enough. So these are always in my bag. I cannot think of a trip where I have not reached for these because I'm always a bit colder than everybody else and I need something on my feet just to get me warm. And the other thing of that is that I have compression socks. Now these live in my suitcase and I have a few pairs. I don't wear them a ton. I do wear them when I'm flying, and I know that my mother wears them when she works as a nurse. So if you're somebody who really struggles to just feel like everything's really puffy, that you're not recovering really well, that you're just really swollen with a lot of walking, a lot of activity, this is great for helping with the circulation. I, again, always wear them on flights just to help with the circulation in the lower part of my body. I don't tend to wear them as much. I do keep them in my bag in case I need them, but these are more for like longer flights, international flights for me. If it's domestic, there's nothing more than like 4 to 5 hours in the US, I feel like. So I don't tend to reach for them as much, but like anything longer than that, I want these on my legs. Now, as you can see, I have blackout curtains, and these are essential because I never know where the light's gonna come through in my bedroom, and on the days that I want to sleep in, that's really important to me. I also really just like the ability to fall asleep when I want to fall asleep, and if I'm at home, I tend to have a few more like sleep concoctions available to me. When I travel, I really streamline that. So the thing that I rely on the most is a sleep mask. This one is in need of a bath. She is quite dirty, and it is the Silk Sleep Mask from Slip. Is a tongue twister, but I love this. I find the best thing about this is it really helps my brain recognize that it is time for sleep. It doesn't really matter my full bedtime routine. There are a few things that I find are really helpful. I talk about that more in a second, but with this, it just encourages my brain to shut out all of the lights and to know that it is really time for me to go to sleep. Especially if I'm somewhere where like maybe the curtains aren't going to be as dark as I want them to be, the room's not going to be as dark as I want it to be, or I'm staying with somebody else in the room and they need to like have the lights on and I just am really ready for bed. This is kind of my savior in that. I use it all the time at home, but I really love having this when I travel. It just is a comfort thing for me, but it also helps it make it easier for me to fall asleep. All right, so this is a slightly elaborate thing, and I don't do this every time, which is why I've grabbed all of the options so you guys can see. But I am somebody who is quite particular about the quality of her coffee and tea, and I have had many diets over the years. I've done many different things to find what works best for me, and I find that having kind of a warm drink at night and being able to have that in the morning, those two things and just the activity of kind of taking that time for myself really helps me reset if I'm around a lot of people. Sometimes I just get in that go, go, go mode and I forget about carving out the pockets where I just take some time to breathe and the things that kind of keep me sane when I am peopling for an extended amount of time. So I will do a few things. I will pack some kind of like peppermint or licorice tea. There's typically a decaf tea happening, something that I don't really feel like I need to add anything to. Obviously hotel rooms will have this, but you never quite know the quality that you're gonna get, where you're going, and it's nice to just be able to have this with ease for yourself. So Hookah's great. There's a couple of different brands I do, but it tends to be some kind of peppermint, some kind of like slightly sweetened tea, just in the case that I want something a little bit sweeter. I do pack chocolate. I'll talk about that in a minute. I did pack this on my recent trip, and it's perfect because no matter what, sometimes my friends have decaf coffee, sometimes they don't, sometimes they have it and it's not the best quality. This means that I just have an easy option for either in the morning or in the night whenever I'm looking to unwind and just take a break for myself. The more elaborate version of that is that I have a loose leaf tea jug and I have an individual espresso, and this will probably go with me over Christmas because I'm just really fussy about quality of coffee. I tend to be somebody who drinks more decaf than anything else. It's something that's become my essential over the years, and I really like my espresso. I like an Americano. That's kind of standard for me. Depending on where I am, where I'm traveling, who I'm staying with, that might be more easily accessible. Like there might be a Starbucks close by that's convenient for my routine and I don't fuss with this as much, but all you need is your pre-ground coffee and a bit of hot water. If I forget beans, if I don't have access to whatever coffee that I need for this, like pre-ground, you can always stop somewhere and like buy a bag of coffee. I stopped at Starbucks and asked them to grind a bag of decaf or grind a bag of whatever to like an espresso fineness, and then I have it for the duration of the trip. But this is just, you add hot water, it's like a pumping system, and then you can pump out your one little espresso at a time. I will utilize this if I'm visiting family in like a smaller town where what we're gonna have access to is K-Cups, and that's fine. But sometimes I just want something a little more specific. I'm really into my Americano. I like the quality of my coffee. this is the vibe for that. It's great for camping, but I utilize this for travel a lot. Just sometimes it's the art of making it that works for me because it's easy to find hot water. Sometimes it's just maintaining the quality of coffee that I want, or just making sure that I have something that I'm really gonna love. And then for the tea version, I have this guy. Now you add your loose leaf tea and you have your hot water down here. It steeps on one side, you tip it on the other. I haven't utilized this yet because I just bought this with the intentions of using it and then didn't travel for 6 months. So that was a thing, or I didn't travel as much for 6 months. And I just like to have the option to have like the quality of whatever. I go through phases of wanting to use loose leaf tea. I tend to buy that a little bit more, but I like that it's just, I'm getting it's slightly more eco-friendly. I'm getting the quality that I want, the really specific teas that I want, the really specific any kind of whatever that I want, and I have the ability to make it with ease. It doesn't require an elaborate system. I don't mind being extra. That's kind of way of life for me, but I like it when it's an easy way to do it. Like I can still maintain the quality of what I want and it's not super elaborate or super just like time consuming, because when I am traveling, I'm typically doing things and spending time with people and wanting to like explore and enjoy myself. So sometimes packing these are really just a matter of having a creature, like having a bit of comfort when I don't necessarily know what I'm going to have the option for. And it means that like I'm prepared to have it and be able to create it for myself, even if I show up and like I am lucky enough that all of the things that I want to have are there and within reach and it's easy. Sometimes that's really what that's about for me, but I love that like these exist, and this will also make for a great gift. And it's just the ability to make like the best quality tea if you're like me and you just get into a phase with like a really specific blend and it doesn't require a lot of effort. And the last two things that I always travel with are very specific snacks. And I will say, travel the world and it doesn't matter where I go, these tend to be the things that I always end up needing and reaching for. Partly because just of my dietary requirements. I am dairy free, I am gluten free, I tend to be refined sugar free, and I find that either there are certain things in my diet that don't always hit with the way that I get meals. So I will either get something that's like got a lot of carbs, maybe a little bit of protein, a little bit of veg, and then of course I'm going to be hungry because I'm not eating a certain portion of that meal because I tend to be a little bit more paleo based, or there will be lots of cheese mixed in. These are just the things that fill the gaps for me time and time again, whether it's an airplane, whether it's an airport, whether it is consistent car travel. Sometimes there's not a lot of time to find all of the elaborate meals, or sometimes I'm just in an area where I don't have a lot of options. So there's always some kind of like mixed nut scenario going on. This one is cashew, almond, and pistachio, and it is just cashew, almonds, pistachio, and sea salt. So no extra oils, no extra inflammatory ingredients. This is great for a snack if I need something a little bit extra, or just as an option to kind of fill in the gaps for a meal where maybe I didn't get enough healthy fats, or I just am not gonna get to eat when I thought I would eat. Like maybe I'm meeting friends and my schedule's a little bit off. These are a big part of that. And then I always travel with chocolate. That never fails. I didn't used to be a big chocolate person, but I feel like when I changed my diet a couple of years ago, I have chocolate at some point every single day. Now when I'm home, that might look a little bit more like an iced mocha because I'm using a monk fruit-based syrup and things are just a little bit easier and work better for my digestion. This is great because then I can just have like one or two, and it typically like satisfies my chocolate craving versus needing to go out and buy something and like buy things that maybe I wouldn't normally buy because I'm just like, oh, well, I'm traveling. But if I'm doing that like constantly, it all adds up. So there's normally some kind of chocolate in my bag. This one does have a little bit of cane sugar in it, so it's not necessarily like the refined sugar free. So that sometimes ends up being Hue Kitchen chocolate bars. Those are favorites of mine because sometimes the dessert for me is to have a little bit of chocolate and like peppermint tea, and that's all I want. But I find that like these things right here are the ones that just I feel like most comforted. I feel like I can eat the things that I want to eat and I'm not messing up my digestion. That's the other part of it. It's just I never really know when I'm going to have access to the stuff that works best for me, and so I want to try to do my best to maintain that because that also has a big part of my mental health, just my general health. So chocolate, and that's every single place I go. I cannot tell you how many times it saved me. I'm pretty sure we went through an entire bag of like almonds and all of the things when we were in Paris, just because finding things that felt balanced for me was a challenge. So I always utilize them. They always get eaten. There's sometimes protein bars in the mix. That tends to be fairly consistent for me just as an extra, but like these two, I know I'm gonna put in the bag. The protein bar, it really depends on where I'm going. All right, guys, that is all I have for you today. Now, I am going to do a full system update of like all of the things that I pack and the systems that I use. So the stuff that I use for my air wrap to organize it, all of the different like packing things that streamline everything, that help me make sure I don't forget stuff, that just make it a lot easier for me. But I do have a packing list, so I will link that in the description box below if you want that. But I hope that this video helps you. If like me, you are always just looking to make traveling a lot easier, a lot more comforting, that you feel like you can really enjoy your trip, but also feel the most supported and prepared for it. These are the things that help me, so I hope they help you too. I love you. It is a good day to have a good day. Make sure you subscribe. I upload new videos every single week. We do have lots more content coming. I'm so excited to be doing a vision board video with you soon, as well as more packing content. I know you guys have asked for some more grocery store content, as well as some other easy meals to make when you're depressed. That's coming as well, so make sure you're subscribed. But I love you, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye, guys.